heard it. The knock under the floorboards, just one soft thump. Barely a sound, almost like a groan of wood settling under its own weight. And yet it wasn't. It wasn't the house. Not the pipes, or the wind, or the creaking floorboards that speak when you're too tired to care. No, this was different. This was something that felt alive. The kind of knock you would hear in a dream, if you dared to listen close enough to the heartbeat that pounds in the darkness just before the nightmare starts. And even then, the sound made you feel cold. An ice-cold rush of panic that settled deep in your gut. An ache you couldn't push away. The knock came every night after that. 3:17 a.m. On the dot. It wasn't a series of knocks, no. It wasn't like someone tapping with their knuckles on the walls. It was just one. Soft. Hollow. 3 short taps. Then nothing. Just the dead silence of the house around you. The first time it happened, you convinced yourself it was nothing more than a shift in the old wood of the floorboards beneath you. Something your mind was doing to distract you from the creeping dread that always followed when you thought of your sister. The one who disappeared in the dead of night, who left only a cracked phone screen and the faintest trace of dirt on the windowsill, like she'd been pulled out of the house in a hurry. The one who was supposed to come back, but never did. So you didn't think much of it, until it came again. The knock, soft and unrelenting, as if it was waiting for you to understand something, as if it had always been waiting, and you were only now waking up to its presence. But still, you told yourself it was nothing. Old houses settle. The weather plays tricks on your mind. Yet, there it was again. A knock, almost gentle, beneath the floorboards. And then nothing. Silence. But it was the kind of silence that presses down on you. The kind that you can feel in your chest, in your throat, as if the very air around you has thickened. The next night, you got up. The house felt colder than usual. The air thicker. Like something was pushing against you from all directions. You found yourself standing over the floorboards where you'd heard the knock, hand pressed flat against the cold wood. It was unnerving. The way the house seemed to hum beneath your touch, like it was breathing with you. The knock came again, but this time, it was louder, closer, as if it was coming from beneath the ground itself. As if it was coming from someone trapped under the house, desperately trying to claw their way out. You couldn't explain it, but you had to know. So, you pulled up the floorboards. You had a shovel with you, the one you'd kept in the shed for when you needed to dig around the garden. It wasn't rational. None of this was. But there was something down there. You could feel it. You could almost hear it. A whisper in the corners of your mind that begged you to listen. The ground beneath the floor was soft. Too soft. It wasn't the solid dirt you expected. No, it was something. Fresher. Damp. Almost wet. You could smell it, the heavy scent of earth and decay. Like something had been buried far too recently. Something alive. Your hands trembled as you reached for the edge of the floor, fingers pressing into the cold soil beneath. And then, it happened again, the knock. Louder this time. Right beneath you. As if something was tapping against the wood, trying to make itself heard. You froze. The room seemed to close in around you. That was when you remembered the story about the woman, Veronica. The one who had been buried alive over 70 years ago. The midwife who had been accused of helping women give birth in secret. They said she had died from a fever. Buried quickly. Too quickly, before they could check. But the next day, the ground was disturbed. The grave was dug up, and they said her body was gone. Vanished. The locals called it a mistake of fate or nature, but the whispers never died. The town was afraid of her. She was the one they couldn't forget. And then you remembered something else, the sound, the knock. It was exactly the same as the one she'd heard before they buried her. The one the townspeople had heard from her grave when they realized they'd made a terrible mistake. You couldn't stop now. You had to know. So you dug, and the soil gave way faster than it should have, as if the earth was eager to expose whatever lay beneath. You uncovered a small iron coffin, its surface rusted and cold, but the dirt around it felt soft, wet, as if someone had recently disturbed it. You leaned closer, wiping away the damp dirt, and there, barely visible beneath the grime, was the faint outline of a name. Veritable. Before you could process what you were seeing, the knock came again. But this time, it wasn't beneath you. It was above you, from the ceiling. Soft, persistent, knocking. 3 short taps, then silence. And you realized, with a sinking dread, that whatever had been buried here wasn't finished yet. Let me know when you're ready to continue. You don't move at first. The knock still echoes above you, soft but insistent, vibrating through the bones of the house, crawling into your mind like a memory you can't escape. It's as if the house is alive, like it's breathing with you. And you're not sure if you're still digging into the earth beneath you, or if you're standing on it, trapped in that moment. The air around you grows colder, not from the basement, but from somewhere deeper, a part of you that has begun to wake up. You don't remember standing, but you're standing now, flashlight still gripped in your hand, body trembling, eyes locked on the coffin beneath your feet. The knock comes again, louder this time, as if it's coming from the walls themselves. It's inside the house, inside your head. You look around, but there's no one. No one, except for the old coffin. No one, except for the ground beneath you that feels wrong, that hums with an energy you can't explain. And the more you listen to that knock, the more you feel it, deep in your chest, like a heartbeat that doesn't belong to you. You pull away from the coffin, crawling backward, trying to distance yourself from whatever has begun to stir in the dark earth beneath your feet. Your pulse pounds in your ears. The ground shakes beneath you, just slightly, and you feel it again, the thump of something beneath the soil. Not alive, but not entirely dead either. It's trying to push through, trying to reach the surface. And then the whisper begins. At first, it's faint like the wind, but as you focus, the words grow clearer. Not in your head, not in your ears, but in your chest, in your bones. A voice, low and mournful, rises up from the dirt. You shouldn't have come. You should have left me in peace. You drop the flashlight, your hands shaking violently. It rolls across the floor, illuminating the edges of the coffin, the rusted iron, the dirt around it that seems to pulse with a life of its own. The whisper grows louder, a hiss now, swirling around you. You buried me alive. You gasp, hand flying to your mouth. The words are unmistakable now, and you feel them, vibrating in your chest, in your very bones, as if the earth is trying to speak through you. You stand up, but the floor beneath you is no longer solid. The knocking has stopped, but the air is thick with something old, something you shouldn't have disturbed. Your body is pulled, unwillingly, toward the grave. You fight it. You try to step back, but your feet are moving of their own accord, dragging you forward. You can't stop yourself. You kneel again. The soil is warm now, not cold like before. It's wet, sticky, like it's alive. Your hand trembles as you reach down to touch the coffin. And then, without warning, the earth around it moves, like it's pushing up from underneath, like fingers are brushing against your hand. The lid of the coffin creaks, a slow, agonizing sound, as if something inside is waking. And then, with a final groan, it shifts just an inch, just enough to expose a gap between the metal and the earth. You can't breathe. You can't move. A hand emerges, cold, pale, fingers long and cracked from years of rot. But they twitch, they move. Her face follows, no longer just a memory but a nightmare. Her eyes wide open, pupils black and empty, skin gray and mottled. Her mouth sewn shut with the same rusted wire that had sealed her fate. But her body is moving, slowly, impossibly, as if she's forcing her way out of the grave, out of the earth that tried to keep her from the world above. Her body shakes with each breath she forces through the silence, and her eyes, those empty, hollow eyes, lock on yours. I was never dead, she whispers, her voice gurgling through the dirt, breaking through the wires. I just couldn't speak. The ground shifts again, this time with force, and the coffin begins to rise, slowly, painfully, Her form inches its way up, dragging the earth along with her, and you realize too late that the knocking wasn't just her. It was her struggle to breathe, to live, to escape. She's alive, or something worse than alive. The earth around you shakes violently, and the whispers fill the space. Chaotic now, maddening. You should have left me in peace. And with that final, soul-chilling word, the ground collapses beneath you, swallowing you whole into darkness. You're safe now, but just in case, listen for the knock. It was a mistake, you told yourself. A mistake, nothing more. The grave should have been dug deeper. The ground should have settled before they placed the body in. You could have sworn you'd seen something strange when they closed the coffin. The air had felt too heavy. There was a slight tremor in the earth beneath your feet, but you were too tired, too numb from the funeral to care. After all, no one wanted to be here. No one, except you. Everyone else had left already, their shadows lingering only for a moment in the distance, fading as quickly as they had come, leaving you alone with the freshly filled grave, alone with the weight of what had been done. But when you returned that night, it was different. You arrived to find the cemetery quiet, its usual stillness broken only by the distant rustling of leaves in the trees. The moon was full, hanging heavy in the sky like a watchful eye, and the air smelled faintly of wet soil. The grave had been disturbed. You stood at the edge, the earth not as solid as it should have been, the mound of dirt no longer smooth, but uneven, crumbling in places as if someone or something had pushed their way out. The coffin, the one that had been placed only hours ago, was half visible beneath the disturbed earth, one side tilted upward as though something had clawed its way free from inside. You reached out to touch the dirt, but your hand hesitated. The soil felt wrong, like it was still shifting, still moving. Wet, too wet for a grave that should have been sealed. Your mind raced, heart pounding against your chest. But it wasn't until you heard this sound, a soft scratching sound, like nails against wood, that you froze, unable to move. The hairs on your neck stood up, a primal fear taking root deep inside you. The scratching was faint, almost as if the source of it was too weak to be heard fully. But it was there. And then the whispering. At first, you thought it was the wind, the voice of someone else lingering behind you, calling your name in hushed tones. But the sound came from within the grave, from the coffin. You stumbled backward, your breath quickening, and for the first time, you turned away from the grave, running toward your car, but your feet didn't carry you fast enough. You felt the weight of the earth following you, pressing down on your chest. You couldn't escape it. The dread that clung to you, clung to the night air. You had to return. You had to know what was in that grave. Against every instinct in your body, you turned around. The graveyard stood eerily silent once more, the scratching gone, the whispering fading into a deep, empty stillness. But the dirt, it was still wet, glistening under the moonlight. You grabbed the shovel, your hands trembling violently as you thrust it into the earth. Each shovelful was heavier than the last, but it was too easy. The dirt fell away in chunks, like the ground was eager to give up its secret, to release what it had been keeping beneath the surface. And then, there it was. The coffin, open. The lid cracked open, twisted in a way that wasn't possible by force alone. There was no body inside, nothing but the remnants of wet earth, scattered loosely in the coffin space, and the faint smell of decay. But it wasn't the smell of death. It was fresh. You staggered backward, breath caught in your throat as you scanned the grave. Then the cemetery, then the trees. The whisper came again, closer now, like it was right behind you, brushing against your ear. You could feel it there, in the air, in the ground beneath you. You turned, unable to stop yourself, and you saw just a flicker in the shadows, just enough to make your pulse race, moving swiftly between the gravestones, disappearing into the darkness. Your feet moved faster now, but it didn't help. The earth beneath you felt softer, the soil giving way beneath each step. And as you looked down, you saw something else, something that didn't belong. Fresh footprints, bare feet, walking toward you from the direction of the open grave. And then you heard it, the scream, a long, gut-wrenching cry that seemed to come from the very earth itself. It echoed through the cemetery, piercing through your soul, reaching deeper than any sound you'd ever heard. You looked back toward the grave. The ground beneath your feet shifted again. Something was alive down there, and it was coming for you. You feel it before you hear it. A presence behind you, like cold fingers pressing against your spine. The air is thick now, thick with something alive, something desperate. The ground beneath your feet shifts again, this time with force, as if something is pushing up from below, struggling to break free. The soil cracks open beneath you, not in the way it had before, but in the way that a body might struggle to breathe when buried too deep, too long. Your breath catches in your throat, and you fight the urge to turn, but it's too late. You can feel it, the presence drawing closer, the heat of it against the back of your neck, the weight of it pressing into your skin. You're not alone anymore. The shadows around you seem to move, bending and twisting like something in the dark is pulling them in. You turn quickly, expecting to see someone, but there's no one there. Only the trees, the gravestones, and the soil, soft and shifting, still too fresh. The whispers return, louder this time, garbled and distant but unmistakable moaning voices, trapped in the earth, calling out to you. And then, another scream. This time, it's not distant. It's not far away. It's right beside you, like it's coming from inside your chest, inside your skull, as though you're the one trapped in the grave, suffocating in the soil. You fall to your knees, hands shaking, unable to breathe, unable to think. The soil around you is alive, writhing under your fingertips, crawling up your arms like it's trying to pull you in. You manage to scramble backward, heart racing, your legs weak, but the ground is too soft beneath you. You fall, hard. Your hands go straight into the dirt, the earth slipping between your fingers like liquid, the scent of it thick and sickening. And then you hear it, the unmistakable sound of something scraping against wood, the lid of the coffin, scratching from the inside. You can't stop yourself now. You have to look. Your eyes fall on the grave, the open coffin, and you see something that makes your stomach drop a hand, pale and shaking, reaching up from inside, fingers gripping the edge of the coffin lid, pulling itself free. It's not the hand of a corpse. It's alive. You scramble backward, but the earth around you seems to shift, pulling you toward the grave. You hear the whispers again, louder this time, as if they're speaking through the earth itself. Not yet, not yet, not finished. The hand pulls itself further out of the grave, and then you see it, a face, pale and dirt-streaked, emerging from the coffin. It's not a face of death. It's the face of someone alive. Someone who's been waiting for this moment. Someone who's been trapped beneath the soil for far too long. The eyes blink open, wide and panicked. But they're not dead. They're alive, and they're looking at you. The screams come again. But this time, it's not just one voice. It's multiple voices, layered and distorted, coming from every direction, as if the earth itself is screaming with them, howling with pain. The woman's body rises, jerky and unnatural, as if she has been pulled from the depths of the grave by something far more sinister than death. You push yourself to your feet, panic bubbling up in your throat, but the soil won't let go. It grabs at your ankles, pulling you back down, making you feel every inch of the grave, every inch of the earth that's been disturbed. You can't get free. You can't escape. And then, her voice hurt, raw, desperate voice fills the air. You shouldn't have come back. You shouldn't have opened it. And just as her fingers curl around the edge of the grave, just as she begins to pull herself free, the ground trembles violently, as if the very foundation of the cemetery is collapsing inward, pulling everything toward the center. The coffin shifts. The earth quakes. and a loud cracking sound echoes through the graveyard, like something breaking beneath the weight of time itself. Everything goes dark. You wake up in the graveyard, lying in the dirt, the sounds of the screams still ringing in your ears. The woman's body is gone. The coffin is empty. The grave is filled with nothing but wet soil, and the soil around you is still shifting, still alive, crawling, moving beneath your feet like something is waiting, watching, shaking. But the whispers are there, closer now, just behind your ear, just beneath the earth, and you can hear them clearly, like a chorus of voices calling your name. You were never meant to leave, and you realize, with a chilling clarity, that the cemetery wasn't finished with you, but just in case. You never left. It starts with a scraping sound in the soil too, rhythmic, to be wind, too deep to be a mole. You're not supposed to hear anything in a cemetery at night, but the graveyard has grown louder lately, like the dead have things they need to say. Your uncle's funeral was quiet, too quiet, the kind where no one really cried, just stood with stiff shoulders and wiped their cheeks out of duty. But you felt something was wrong the moment the coffin sank, not just emotionally, but physically. You swore. The earth gave a shudder, like it knew something you didn't. They buried him in lot 17B, third row from the southern gate, under a cracked marble headstone that used to belong to someone named Grace Elman. The caretaker said the paperwork was missing and the map was smudged from rain. "It's just dirt," he muttered. "The dead don't mind." But that night, you woke up to your phone vibrating without notifications and a soft scratching sound from beneath the floorboards. Over the next few days, things didn't stay where you left them. Your grandfather's photo fell off the wall glass intact, frame upright. You found wet footprints on the back porch, toes pointing toward the house. Your younger sister said someone knocked from inside the wardrobe. You would have chalked it up to grief or stress, until you passed the cemetery again and saw the headstone. You were sure they buried him under now, unearthed, tilted, as if something had shoved up from below. When you asked the gravedigger what happened, he looked pale. "There's something wrong with that plot," he said. "We moved someone out of there last year." The body kept resurfacing. Thought it was groundwater. Guess not. You pressed, and he finally told you Grace Elman wasn't just anyone. She was buried after a trial for smothering her infant son in 1947. Locals whispered she cursed the ground to trap any soul foolish enough to rest on top of hers. The problem is, your uncle didn't believe in curses. He mocked them, especially before he died in that car crash, the one with no skid marks, no other driver, just a cold whisper of wind, and the radio playing static. Now, every night since the funeral, the same dream repeats. Your uncle standing at the foot of your bed, soaked in dirt, mouth stitched shut, finger pointing not at you, but at the ground beneath your house. You start to avoid going upstairs. You don't sleep much. You hear scratching in the pipes, smell soil when the shower runs, find worms in the laundry machine. You catch glimpses of a hand dragging across the hallway wall. But when you ask anyone else in the family, they look at you like you're the one haunting the place. One night, desperate for clarity, you drive back to the cemetery. It's foggy, humid, dead, silent. But then your car headlights catch something. A mound of fresh dirt on lot 17B, with handprints pressed into the soil. You get out. You kneel. You brush it away and find out the coffin is gone. Just an empty, collapsed hole. And behind you, something shifts in the shadows near the family plot. You don't turn around. You don't breathe. You just listen. There's breathing, not yours, and a whisper. "This isn't where I belong." You freeze, body tilted over the empty grave, fingers sunk in damp soil as the whisper coils around your spine like cold fog. It's not loud, not even aggressive, just like a voice trying to remember how to sound human. You stand, breath shaking, and back away slowly, eyes locked on the collapsed hole where your uncle should have been. There's no sign of the coffin, no drag marks, just a single deep fingerprint in the dirt, pressed so hard it split the ground. The lights in the cemetery flicker, though no wind blows. You don't remember turning off your car headlights, but the lot is suddenly dim, bathed only in the pale silver spill of a half moon. As you reach for your phone, your hand trembles because it's vibrating. No screen on, no call, just a slow, continuous buzz like something beneath it is trying to hum through the circuits. That night, the dreams come sharper. No more shadows at the foot of the bed. Now he's beside you. Your uncle, mouth still stitched shut with rusted wire, his jaw too wide. Unhinged, eyes blank but streaming with mud. He points again, this time at your chest. You wake up, coughing, gagging on the taste of soil. You spit into the sink and watch a clump of wet earth swirl down the drain. The mirror fogs, but the steam isn't from the faucet. You didn't turn it on. You go back to the cemetery the next day, dragging your cousin with you for proof. But the grave isn't disturbed anymore. Lot 17B looks untouched. Grace Elman's cracked stone lies flat again, moss growing comfortably along the edges. No sign of last night's events. Your cousin jokes about you losing it, but before you leave, you notice something etched faintly into the marble that wasn't there before. 3 words. This isn't yours. That night, you try to avoid sleep, but it pulls you under anyway. This time, you're not in bed, you're in a coffin. You can't move, can't scream. Dirt trickles through a crack above your face, and you hear laughter, soft and wet, like someone gurgling through a mouthful of mud. You claw at the lid but feel only fabric. Then hands, cold, steady hands pressing yours back down. You wake up gasping on the floor, and the carpet is damp. From what? You don't know. Your fingernails are caked with dirt. The next few days unravel like stitches. People at home grow forgetful. Your mom calls you by your uncle's name. The dog won't come near you. Electrical items glitch when you walk past. Your shoes leave muddy prints across clean floors you never walked on. You hear scratching behind the walls again, louder now, more like digging. You press your ear to the plaster and hear a heartbeat. One night, the old radio in the attic turns on by itself. It plays a song you haven't heard since your uncle's funeral. You go up, and it's there. His funeral program, pristine, untouched by time, sitting beneath the speaker. But the photo is different. It's not the smiling image they printed, it's him. Open-mouthed, covered in soil, hand outstretched toward the camera. You knock it over in terror, but when it hits the ground, there's no sound. The next morning, your cousin texts you. Something's wrong with Grandpa's grave. Come quick. You drive fast, not because you want to, but because something compels you, like a hook behind your ribs pulling forward. The cemetery gate is open when you arrive. No caretaker, no birds, just stillness. When you reach your family plot, you stop breathing. A second coffin has been placed beside your uncle's. There's no funeral, no name carved, just fresh dirt and a casket identical to the one he was buried in. Except this one is open. Inside is a mirror, and in that mirror you're watching yourself look down. Same clothes, same breath, but behind you in the reflection stands your uncle. No longer stitched, just smiling. When you spin around, nothing's there, but the ground under your feet is soft, and you hear it again. The same whisper, you buried me in the wrong place. Now I'm burying you in the right one. And then the earth gives way. You fall, not far, just enough to sink, just enough to be covered. The soil folds over your chest like cold hands, and the last thing you see before everything goes dark is Grace Elman's name crumbling off the stone, because it never belonged to her either. And some graves, remember, you're safe now, but just in case, don't look behind you.